What is the value of feeling? The value of a physical sensation, a touch, an emotional response. Once we drove to feel, but today we are numb, slaves to refinement, detached from the pleasure of the senses. Those who once sought thrills on four wheels now look elsewhere, but others, like me, we live to feel.
The McLaren 600LT is designed to be the antidote to that numbness. Its purpose is to re-establish the connection between driver and machine. It's a supercar that's designed not only to be fast, but to feel fast.
McLaren uses the LT brand in the same way that Porsche uses RS. They take a standard car, but then re-engineer it to be lighter, faster, and this is the crucial bit, more entertaining to drive. In this case, the donor car was the already brilliant 570S, but by stripping the weight, adding more power, and tweaking the aero, they've made this, the fantastic 600LT.
It still uses a mid-mounted 3.8-litre twin-turbocharged V8, but where it made 570 horsepower in the 570S, here it makes 600. It still uses the same carbon fiber chassis, but here the package is 100 kilos lighter. And instead of being designed simply to let the driver feel speed, here the 600LT lets you feel everything.
It is explosive. 0 to 62 is done in 2.9 seconds. 0 to 124 in 8.2. Flat out, it'll hit 204 miles an hour. If you think this car looks fast, try sitting in it. It is outrageously quick. It's not quite as violent as some supercars in terms of its acceleration, but it is urgent. It's unrelenting. It's so much fun. You get carried away on this surge of torque. 620 Newton meters feels like a tsunami that just doesn't want to let up. And because most of the torque comes in at 6,500 RPM, you find yourself wanting to use every single gear in that dual clutch gearbox. Let the engine do its thing. Let the revs build. Bang!
And when I say bang, I do mean bang. They use a gear change technique called ignition cut. During gear changes, they very quickly cut the ignition but keep fueling. When you respark, the extra fuel that's in the system gives you a sudden push, so every gear change feels violent.
The gearbox really is one of the best things about this car because it's just so involving. Every single time you pull the trigger, you just get this kick in the back.
More impressive than the sheer speed is how involving the driving experience is. It's a racing car with number plates, and so manages to impart a level of haptic connectivity that most cars of this type, of any type, can't quite come close to. My first and lasting impression is that I don't think I've felt more connected to a car than I do to this.
And that's because this car is so communicative. You feel everything through the tires, through the chassis. It talks to you and you feel it all coming up through the seat of your pants.
The 600LT is arguably just as much an experience when stationary as it is when going flat out. If what you take from the design is dramatic, sculpted supercar, you wouldn't be wrong. But there is science behind the drama. The LT is a longtail by philosophy, but also by design. Longtails have always been physically longer than the cars they're based on, and here the carbon fiber front splitter and rear diffuser extend to give the car a silhouette elongated by 74mm and 8mm closer to the ground.
There are a couple of very interesting design aspects to the 600LT, starting with these twin end plates on the front splitter. They look almost like giant spades shoveling cooling air into the high temperature radiators at the front. Just round here by the leading edge of the front wheel arch, you have a couple of tyre spoilers that help to deflect and mold the air around the side of the car. And you've got these vents, these louvres integrated into the front wing, which just help to dissipate the turbulent air that builds up from the motion of the wheels in the wheel arch to help reduce the amount of lift. Cooling is massively important in a mid-engine supercar, and McLaren have worked really hard in this area. Just notice these creases on the bonnet. They actually help to guide the air along the top of the doors and into the vent just behind the passenger cabin. Less subtle perhaps are these enormous gouges in the dihedral doors, which just shovel yet more air into that twin turbocharged V8 mid-mounted engine. The best bit though is around the back. Look at this exhaust. It actually exits out the top of the car. And as far as I can tell, there are 3 benefits to this. The first is weight. By having a shorter set of pipes, you can save weight and thus increase performance. Secondly, by not having the exhaust exit anywhere near the diffuser, you can leave the diffuser unmolested to do its thing and create downforce in conjunction to this giant fixed carbon fiber rear wing. The third advantage is noise.
You have got to love a loud, hairy-chested exhaust, haven't you? Okay, I get why some people don't, and I get why it's annoying when it's not your noise. But when it is your noise, and it's coming from something like this, it's glorious. It's not very melodic, it's not a V10, it doesn't sing, it's not Mariah Carey. It's more like death metal. But who knew? I must be a fan of death metal. Plus, if you want to crank it up to 10, just drop the little window behind you and enjoy it almost in its full glory.
I say almost because this is the 600LT Spider, and it has another trick that lets you crank the volume up to 11, where you can hear and feel even more.
And with the roof down, that's when the 600LT really comes alive. It sounds unbelievable. Cracks on the upshift, pops on the downshift, burbling constantly. It sounds like a mixture between Guy Fawkes, July 4th, and World War III. Oh, what a noise! And then you look in the rearview mirror and you see flames. It's shooting flames. And that's even if you can see anything in the mirror anyway, because it's constantly vibrating. They use stiffer engine and gearbox mounts in the 600LT, so you feel a constant stream of low frequency vibration through the cabin. Every input with your foot, you feel. Every click with your fingers, you feel. This car, it's just alive.
And no component feels more alive than the steering. Not only is it fast and accurate, but McLaren is one of very few manufacturers still using hydraulic power steering assistance rather than electric. This pays huge dividends with the level of feedback through the steering. The tyres are notable too. The Pirelli P0 Trofeo Rs are more of a track day tyre and are less than perfect in tricky changeable weather, but the level of grip they supply, even in cold, damp conditions, is staggering. This isn't a car that will surprise you with under or oversteer unless you provoke it, because of the fact it communicates its intentions with you constantly. There is of course the question of whether there might be too much feel. The suspension is 13% stiffer at the front and 34% stiffer at the rear. The cabin is cramped, loud, and borders on inhospitable on longer journeys. Those seeking comfort and an easy life will run from it, but this car gives me plenty of reasons to run to it.
I've driven many a supercar in my time, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say that this 600LT is up there with the very best of them. I love everything about it. I love the lightness, I love the agility, I love the quick responses to the steering, I love the noise, I love the way it looks. This isn't a car, it's an emotional release.
Sometimes it's a dangerous game to be at the mercy of your emotions, but in this, you can't help but let the 600LT get under your skin and take you to places where most cars just can't. You don't drive this car to get from one place to another. You drive it because you crave a connection. From the minute you sit behind the wheel, you're on high alert, fight or flight, at the intersection of pleasure and fear.
Modern cars are heading down a path where every ounce of feeling and feedback are being filtered out, deemed undesirable. I can understand that in a family car or a luxury car, but in a supercar such as this, it's a tragedy. With the 600LT, those feelings come flooding back. And that won't mean anything to most people, but if your brain is wired anything like mine, that's good news, because to me, feeling is important. Feeling connects you to a car. Feeling is everything.